biological male, has just become the first transgender person to win a world title in cycling.
First transgender weightlifter winning her maiden international event as a woman.
A biological male winning a gold medal in a women's event now seems a matter of when, not if.
Stopping it there, before we continue with the video. This video is basically about how men or trans women are dominating in female-only sports, or what used to be female-only sports. I'm dedicating this video to Lia Thomas because there was just a policy put down that said that she cannot no longer compete in certain, I think, divisions of female swimming, including the Olympics. So what I think that means is Lia Thomas will not be able to compete in the Olympics in female divisions, right? Which is great for all the female athletes that have fought the entire lives, some of them since they were fucking toddlers, to get to that position. Because Lia Thomas has said in interviews that that was her goal. And also in dedication of the documentary by Matt Walsh, which is What is a Woman, when he did speak to some people who pushed back against this, trying to make it seem like trans women in female sports weren't dominating. A matter of fact, only a couple or a few ever won anything, and most of them do not win, which is not the case. Almost, not every single time, but almost every single time a trans woman competes against biological women, they win. And they usually win by a landslide, breaking records that a female or biological woman would never be able to achieve, because there's just fucking biological differences. I also believe the policy for Lia Thomas was saying that any trans woman who wants to compete in that division of female swimming would have to actually have been taking hormones or blocking their puberty since 12 years old. Now, I am very against this happening to children because stopping someone's development is just stupid. However, I understand that because people literally think just because Lia Thomas took hormones for like a year or so made her took every advantage they had as going through puberty and developing as a biological man somehow was wiped away by taking estrogen for a year, which is not true. I think some people even say it takes about 7 years for there to really be any dent in the advantages that an athlete might have when competing against a biological woman. I am not transphobic. I don't care. I want trans people to have equal rights to any other human being. But this is not equal rights. This is actually misogynist at its best. Telling women that they no longer are allowed to have their own spaces to compete, or their own safe spaces. This is beyond sports. This is female bathrooms, locker rooms, shower rooms, and even rape centers. Biological women are no longer allowed to have safe spaces in rape centers because they feel uncomfortable with someone with male genitalia because they have the same genitalia that sexually assaulted them. They're no longer allowed to have those things because people say it's transphobic. And I just honestly feel like, even though I never claimed to be a feminist at all, I feel like this is basically starting a new category of feminism, and it's not TERF. It's just wanting biological women to have the same rights and privileges in spaces that they literally fought decades to have. We're literally going backwards. That's why they say progressives are actually recessive. They like to go backwards. That's why they're actually pro-segregation in universities and shit like that. But anyway, let's continue with the video.
Since sports events began, men and women have been segregated by gender to make the competitive events fairer due to differences in muscle mass, innate strength, or testosterone levels. But nowadays, these physical differences no longer seem to be a determining factor.
There are all kinds of reasons that people have advantages. Somebody's parents can give them year-round training. Somebody else is really, really tall and someone's really, really short.
Sport has never been fair. You bought into that myth, so have a lot of other people. But let's face it, if I wanted to be a jockey, I couldn't be. Nature endows her gifts unevenly in society.
Stop it there. Nobody bought into the fairy tale that sports was fair. No one ever said that sports was fair, because we all understand that there are people who are faster, better at jumping, and just more inherently more athletic, or like that person said, someone might have more training. That is not the same. Like putting Michael Phelps, who has a large wingspan and long arms and tall bodies, where it gives him an innate advantage against other male swimmers, is not the same with putting a man or someone who went through male biological puberty against a woman. It's such a vast gap that is not the same. It is not comparable. Putting a biological man against a woman is literally like putting a little person against Michael Phelps and then calling that equal. Like it's not the same, and I'm so sick of people using that argument. A woman would have a very hard time cracking the skull of a man because they just don't have the strength. It's not the same because we have a trans woman who got to crack the skull of a biological woman. We're literally applauding and cheering for biological men beating the crap out of biological women. Again, we're literally going backwards. But let's continue.
It's true that some physical characteristics give athletes an unusual advantage in sports, like Michael Phelps' long arms or Usain Bolt's height. But the genetic difference of being born as a male or female and competing with the opposite gender proved to be more of a determining factor than any bodily developments in sports.
If you go through puberty, you have all the benefits of having a male body. And even if you transition and reduce your testosterone, you're still going to have those benefits. You're going to have the bone structure, the slightly bigger heart, more red blood cells. So therefore, a female athlete competing against a transgender female is always going to be at a disadvantage.
Testosterone levels are important because the amount of the hormone defines the eligibility of athletes to compete whenever sporting events are limited to a single sex, following IAAF rulings.
The idea that we need to protect women's or female sport from other women and females is itself inherently discriminatory. No testosterone policy will ever work.
Male to female athletes no longer need to have reassignment surgery, but they do need to demonstrate that their testosterone levels have been below 10 nanomole per litre for at least 6 months, according to the 2016 International Olympic Committee guidelines.
It's not saying you're a man or a woman. It's saying you can compete. It's a matter of eligibility to participate in certain competitions.
In the case of female to male athletes, they can compete without restrictions.
But 10 nanomoles per litre, as I understand it, something like 90% of female athletes, their testosterone levels are around 3 nanomoles per litre. So in other words, this upper limit is 3 times what would be typical in a female athlete. So it seems like a kind of arbitrary setting unrelated to the realities of the situation.
Well, I actually agree with you there.
But what happens with student athletes who decide to change their gender? Well, the rules are not clear at all. Most countries don't have clear regulations, and the biggest student sports organisation in the US, the NCAA, does not require gender confirmation or a legal recognition of a player's transition sex in order for transgender players to participate on a team that matches their identity, just 1 year of hormone treatment prior to competing on a female team.
That's insane. Like, there's really no regulations. Anyone can kind of just be like, yeah, I just decide to do this and I'm going to be on a female team because I suck on the male's team. And it makes sense that it's kind of like chaotic because this is something new. And I like that they're breaking down all the benefits that going through male puberty gives a biological man, because people really think it's just the testosterone. Like she said, like she was pointing out, like the size of your heart and your lungs and your red blood cells and your skeleton is not just testosterone. If you've already gone through male puberty, you already have those benefits, and it's not going to take 6 months of estrogen to take that away from you. And another proof that this is heavily affecting women, which again makes this misogyny at its best, is that trans men are beasting out biological men. You never hear about trans men dominating in men's sports. Why don't you? Because they lose, because they went through female puberty, not male puberty. Ugh. Anyway, let's continue.
Team. In the middle of all this legal mess, Zubi, a UK-based rapper, basically identified as a female and broke British women's weightlifting records.
Saying, look, I'm not a professional powerlifter, but even I myself, I can stroll into the gym on any given day and I can break the British women's bench press record. I can break the British women's deadlift record. When I'm on form, I could potentially break the British female squat record. And I don't even compete.
So if you're a woman and you're a natural woman and you don't take any extra hormones or male hormones, you're not taking steroids or any sort of performance enhancing drugs, you're doing your very best to compete and you're at the top of the heap. But then someone comes along that was a man for 30 years and decides that they're going to be a woman, and this has happened, and literally transitioned a few months ago and competes as a woman and destroys records and dominates you in that sport. That's bullshit.
Wow, I agree. It's fucking bullshit, right? And I like the Zubi thing. I remember hearing about that went viral, and maybe that's what put Zubi on the map. I know he was a rapper before, but that just shows the mass difference. Because they keep trying to compare Michael Phelps to other swimmers, see if he has a benefit. The other swimmers are at disadvantage towards Michael Phelps, so this is the same thing. It is not. When a non-athlete, when a non-elite athlete can go into an elite sport against women and still beat them by a landslide, that shows the massive difference between men and women when it comes to development physically, right? And so it's not the same as comparing Michael Phelps to other swimmers or whatever, a tall runner against non-tall runners. That's not the same thing. They're competing against other biological men. So the disadvantage is not as vast as it would be putting biological women against biological men. It's just insane. Again, they said at the beginning of the video that this difference between men and women is just not enough to protect women's spaces, right? It's because people's, again, cultural and political ideology has trumped that. It has literally trumped their common sense, that they don't actually give a fuck about women anymore. They just care about their ideology. They don't even care about trans people. It's just their ideology. This is my ideology, so I have to go along with my ideology. This is what I have to do because I live in a fucking cult. I personally think if trans people want to compete in sports, they should be a separate division for trans athletes. Oh, by the way, I actually forgot to mention this. There are actually biological females that got disqualified in the Olympics. I believe it was the last Olympics because their testosterone levels were too high. And they were biological females, but trans women can compete. And this is not misogyny. Anyway, like I was saying before, I have no problems with trans people competing, right? If athletics and playing in sports is your passion, but you're also trans, yes, you should have the opportunity to compete. But there should be either compete in your biological sex, or there should be a separate division for trans athletes. I really don't know why trans activists are fighting against this idea of separate divisions for trans athletes, because it gives them the ability to play. It is not discriminatory. They have their own division to play in sport. But for some reason, trans activists fight against this because I think it's just about ideology, power, and misogyny. Anyway, guys, that's it. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, you can donate. My PayPal and Cash App link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop, links down below, and links to all of my alternative platforms I'm on, my socials, including my Twitter, all the ways to support me, and all the ways to contact me for business is also in the links down below. Or if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle, or I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go in the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link. Go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories are usually what's most up to date. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.